Everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to work on this bracelet, and this bracelet uses some of the beads from the Beading School Academy box called Fly Me to the Moon. So if you're interested in the Beading School Academy, in their boxes or just their website, I'll link it down below so you can take a look. They have such gorgeous beads and their website is so beautiful. Excuse my voice, I'm having so many allergy issues. However, let's take a look at the bracelet. Here we go. So we're using some 2-hole vexillo beads. These gorgeous 6mm bicones. Some small round beads. So really a lot of beads you may have in your stash, or you can order. Here's the back. No, it's not reversible. I know I've been doing so many reversible things lately. And I love that clasp. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that. That looks like something you'd get on a piece of vintage jewelry. I love that. I will be ordering more of those because they're beautiful. All right, so here you go. I'm going to clear this off. We'll get a materials list going and we'll get started with this bracelet. So I've got some vexillo beads. Now these aren't the ones that are in the box because I used them all. The one in the box are Jet AB. Oh, they're just gorgeous. I'm going to be ordering a lot of those in Jet AB. They're so pretty, and for the holidays, they can make such gorgeous things. All right, so and I've got 11-0 seed bead. I've got a 15-0. I've got some delicas mixed up in here, but it's a 15-0. I've got a 6mm bicone, and I've been collecting these for a while now, and it's so nice to be able to pop them in, and let's say instead of a chaton or a flat back, it's kind of cool. Got a 3mm round bead. You can use a pearl as a druck, I think. I've got a 4mm bicone. That's just for our end pieces, and it's the same color as the 6. I'm going to list everything in the description box below the video, sizes, shapes, colors, everything you need, amounts, and places to purchase if you need them. So, this is just a sort of general idea of what we're using. I've got this is a toggle clasp here. Here's the bar. I used this gorgeous box clasp. Oh my gosh, I love that clasp, but I only had one, so I just put out a clasp of any kind, but I adore that. That's another thing I'm going to be ordering a lot of. I think it's so pretty. I've got a little delica here. I think that's about everything. A couple of jump rings. I've got a little case with needles in it. I'm using 6-pound Fireline, and this is in the crystal, and I just picked this up on Amazon, and it's during the Amazon Prime Day. I should have posted something about that because it was really cheap. All right, so I'm going to clear this off, and we'll get started. Also, I just wanted to mention that if you have the box, you have two of these most amazingly gorgeous crystals, and they're sort of a ripple cut. And, when I did the unboxing, I was thinking, can we bezel this? Yeah, you can bezel it just like a normal bezel. The back being that way doesn't matter. It holds beautifully. And isn't that gorgeous? I thought maybe I'd just make a pair of just really statement earrings, bezeling it with some of the beads. So that will probably be coming up soon. All right, let's get started. Okay, let's get started. So thread your needle with about 40 inches of thread, put on a stop bead. I'm going to leave it about a 12-inch tail. So I picked up and dropped down to my stop bead, a vexillo and 2 11-0s, and I just did that 4 times. So just like that. Sew them into a circle by sewing through the first bead after my stop bead. So if you notice, I put them on, with the point facing in. And just a note, check your holes just to make sure they're clear. I did get a couple that were clogged. So this is what I have so far. So now you're just going to sew all the way around again to reinforce. I've come a little bit past the stop bead, just sort of end the circle here, so just like that. So you're just a little, you're away from where your stop bead is. So I'm just going to sew through, I'm exiting the bottom hole here of this vexillo. I'm going to sew through this top hole right here. That's what I have. Next up, I'm picking up an 11-0, a vexillo, and an 11-0, and notice how I'm picking it up. So I'm picking it up from the bottom, or the wider part. Exiting here, I'm just going to sew through the top hole of the next vexillo. So you see how that I have my point going in here, and I have my point coming this way. So you're just going to repeat that all the way around. Coming down to my last 11-0, vexillo, and 11-0. I'm going to sew through the top of this vexillow, and I'm just going to keep going around. Just a little bit here. You can reinforce the whole thing if you like, or you can just do a few, beads just to sort of, get past where you've ended. So either way, this is what it looks like. And don't worry about the little vexillows. They're going to be flopping around all over the place for a little bit. Okay, so this is what I have so far. Reinforced, and if you are reinforcing all around, don't pull too super tight, because you can pull super tight and this will turn into a real cup. You don't need that because we're putting that big old bicone in here. You don't need to make a cup for a bezel, so you want just nice even tension. So I've come all the way around. I'm exiting the top hole of one of the interior vexillows, so the one with the point down here and the sort of wider part here. So I'm exiting right there, just the vexillow. I'm just going to sew through the bottom hole of that same one. So just like that. Okay, so I'm going to pick up an 11-0, a Delica and an 11-0. And isn't that pretty? Just the way it is. I love this color. Isn't this gorgeous? What is the color of this vexillow? It's just jet AB. So it's a jet bead with that AB coating. So pretty. Anyway, okay, so 11-0, Delica 11-0. Exiting here, I'm just going to sew through the next vexillow. So this one, the point one right there. And that's going to place the 3 beads right there. Just going to do that again. 11-0, Delica 11-0. Exiting here. I'm going to sew through this one like that. So you can do that 2 more times. I'm down to my last 11-0, Delica 11-0. I'm going to sew through that bottom hole of that vexillow like that, and then I'm just going to sew on through the 11-0 and this Delica right here. So I just want to be exiting a Delica, and yeah, these are a pain because they keep flopping around, but that's okay. They're going to flop around for a while. All right, so you're exiting the Delica and super tight for this. So here we're going to pick up our 6mm bicone, exiting this side of the Delica. I'm going to just go to the opposite side and sew through the Delica right here. So out of that one and into this one. See, just like that. That's going to put it on like so. Let me just spread these out a little bit. So I have it on like that. So what you're going to do at this point is you're going to just pop that back there. There we go. So you're exiting this Delica. You want to go back up through the bicone. And you exit here. You see the thread is coming out of that side of the Delica. You want to sew through the Delica going this way. So that way we're just getting that bicone on. Here, let me hold it like that for you. Nice and straight. So this is what it looks like. Let me put it down for you. So it looks like so far. Still exiting a Delica here, so you put the bicone on, you're exiting the Delica. I'm going to pick up 4 15-0s, and I'm going to hop over to the next Delica, like that. I'm going to do that again, 4 15-0s, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to sew through the next Delica, like so. Then you're going to just repeat that 2 more times. Down to my last 4 15-0s, sewing through the next Delica. So now I have all my 15-0s on. I'm just going to advance through the next 4 15-0s and the next Delica. Just like that. That's what I have so far. Next up, I'm going to pick up a 15-0, my 3mm round bead, and a 15-0, and I'm going to sew through. I'm exiting the Delica. I'm going to sew through this top hole of this vexillow here. So that's the flat one right there. And that's Just want to make sure that sits in front because, you know, they're still kind of flopping around a little bit. Like that. And then you're going to pick up a 15-0, a 3mm bead and a 15-0. And you're going to sew through. So you're exiting the top hole here. You're just going to sew through the delica. So you're going back and forth between the delica. And see that? So that's going to put the 2 pearls there, or round beads. So you're just going to pick up your 15-0, your 3mm round and a 15-0. You're going to sew through the next vexillo right there with the flat top. Like that. Just want to make sure that it sits into place. So just like that. You've got to sort of pull it in there. And then we'll pick up a 15-0, the 3mm round and a 15-0 again. There we go. And you're going to sew through the delica. So you're just alternating sewing through the delica and then the sew through the delica and then through this one, through the delica and then this one. So you're just going to be placing those pearls or the round beads, you know, just all around on either side of this, of the pointy vexillo. So just keep doing that all the way around and then we'll continue. My last 15-0, 3mm round 15-0, exiting here. I'm going to sew through the delica. It's going to complete my round. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so I'm Xing the delica. I put all the round beads on. I'm just going to sew through the next 4 15-0s. So I just want to move my thread a little bit because I want to keep working with it. The delica, like that. Let me pull it really tight here for a second. Oops. Then I'm Xing the delica. I'm going to sew through this 15-0 round, 3mm round and 15-0, and right through the vexillo, so the top hole, the outside a little bit. So exiting this vexillo here, just going to sew through. I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s. I'm going to sew through the next vexillo, so that top point there. It's going to place 3 11-0s right there. I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s. Exiting here, I'm going to sew through the vexillo here. Just make sure you're going only through the vexillo and you're not getting tangled or anything, and you can kind of pop them into place a little bit. Coming down to my last 3 11-0s, exiting here, I'm going to sew through that vexillo like that. And then I'm going to sew on through these first 3 11-0s right here. Kind of straighten that out a little bit. And so you'll be exiting the 3 11-0s right there. So I'm putting that thread aside. I've taken my stop bead off. Well, my stop bead is off, and here's my tail thread. So, you know, I moved it from the inside to the bottom hole here. I'm just going to go through, sew through the top hole now. I mean, I had before, but I took it out because I wanted the space to move around, but now I can put it right there. So I'm exiting the top hole of the vexillo. I'm just going to work my way down through these 3 11-0s, through the vexillo, actually working my way to this group of 3 right here. So I'll just keep going down through the vexillo, through the 3 11-0s, through the vexillo, like so, and then through these 3 11-0s. So what I'll have at this point is I'll have a thread coming out of 3 11-0s on the side of the pointy vexillo right there. So this is exactly what you want. Before we you know, continue on making units and sewing them together and such, I just want to talk a little bit about orientation. So when this is the piece we're going to attach to, you know, eventually. So here's our unit right here. Okay, so when we did the video, we had our threads coming out here. So do you see how this bicone is facing up? right? So it's, you know, lengthwise facing up. The way I did this piece, and you know, it's my fault for not looking at the piece first, is I have my threads coming out this way. So I wanted my bicone facing in this direction. It doesn't really matter what direction you're coming out of, but just make sure you're coming out, you know, the same direction all the time, unless you want to mix up the orientation. So this way, which means your threads, you'll just move your threads until they're coming out these groups of 11 O's, or this way, you move your thread so you're coming out of these groups of 11 O's. So as I said, because my piece that I had made before is all orientation is this way, I'm going to attach this way. The way it's on the video, I think I have my threads coming out, so it's you know, do you see the difference? It's going vertically instead of horizontally. So it doesn't really matter. Just move your thread to whichever way you like best, and then we'll connect a couple of units. So you can go ahead and make as many units as you need for your bracelet. 6 units gave me 6 inches, so they're about an inch each, and that's without the clasp. So, you know, you'll have to sort of figure that out. If it's going to be too big, put 5 on. You can always do some sort of little you know, extender here if you're like sort of in between units. So easily you can put just some seed beads here, you know, just to make it a little longer and such, you know. So you'll just need to see how that goes. All right, so what I'm going to do here, so I'm exiting the 11 O's. I have 2 threads coming out. I'm going to pick up 2 11 O's, and here's another unit I made. And I'm just going to make sure it's facing the way I want it to face. So I want it this way because I want all my bicones sort of going with, you know, horizontally. And I'm exiting here. I'm going to pick up 2 11 O's, and I'm just going to sew through the 11 O's on the other unit. So just like that. Very easy connection, but I just think it's so pretty. I tried a million different connections, and I just like this one the best. You know, sometimes simple is really good. So I'll pick up 2 11 O's and sew through the 3 11 O's on the other side. I'll show you the thread path in a second. So here we go. So here's my thread path. See that? So that's all you're going to do to get that connection. And then you're just going to sew around your piece with each thread, a little bead there. Sew around your piece with each thread, putting half-hitch knots, you know, in between the beads. So you want to make sure you knot this really well so that it's nice and secure. Okay, so that's your connection. So you're just going to take all your pieces, you're going to connect them, and then come back and we'll add the clasp. Note about sewing in your thread, and really for any project, not just this one, so it gets nice and snug. So here I've put on those 2, I've come through these 3 beads on this side. Now I want to sew this together, and I want it to be pretty snug here. So I'm just going to come over, I'm going to go through the beads, right, just like a normal half-hitch knot, and I'm going to make a big loop, and I'm going to put my thread through. And before I pull this tight, I'm just going to pull on the loop. Now, if you pull on the loop and you're pulling the part of the working thread attached to the needle, it's just going to get bigger. But if you pull on the loop that is coming through the beads, so you just pick one side of the loop, and you'll see this will be tight right here. If you pull that tight, it will pull these beads tight, and then just kind of, you know, just hold it and then pull your half-hitch knot through. And that way you're tight over here. So because you tend to loosen up, you know, right before you put a half-hitch knot in. So you're just gonna, that's sort of one way of just making sure that your beads are gonna stay nice and snug. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a few more half-hitch knots and then come back and we'll put on the clasp. Okay, so just a note again about fit and size. I'm going to try to use this box clasp. And so this clasp itself is pretty long. So you wanna make sure, you know, when you're putting all your units together, that you take into consideration if you're using a clasp this long. So this is really going to extend it, isn't it? So, you know, take that into consideration as well. All right, let's move on for the clasp. So you may very well have your 2 threads coming out of these 11/0s at the end, and you can just add your clasp on with those. I'm going to add a separate thread, and I'll show you how I did that. So I just took a little over a foot of thread, and I put a needle at each end. So then I'm going to turn it onto the back, and I took one end, and I came through the bottom hole of this vexillo right here, so that when I pulled, I have an even, amount of thread on either side of the vexillo, right there. And then I'm going to pick up a 15/0, and I'm going to sew through. So I'm Xing the vexillo here. I'm going to sew through the 3 11/0s on this side. Get my needle in there. There we go. So up the 11/0s, and you want to make sure that that little 15/0 pops. It's just going to pop into place right there. And you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side with the other needle, and then your connection will be here, just like that. Okay, let's get the clasp ready. So I added a jump ring at the end of each through the ring on the clasp, because I always want to sew in this direction. So I always add jump rings. So I have a 4mm here. You could do a 3mm, whatever bead is going to go, sit right here. I would make the ring that same size. So this clasp works like this. So it's a box clasp. So when I pull, I squeeze the ends and pull, and then it comes off like that. So this is how we're going to clasp it. So we'll just take one end here like that, and I have my ring on, and I have each thread here. So I'm going to add an 11/0 and the 4mm bicone. I thought it might be nice because we have the 6 here. 11/0 4mm, and I'm just going to sew through the clasp with each needle. So this is kind of fun to do, like use the 2 needles, because that way you've already got your 2 threads through. You don't have to keep going around and around. So when I pull, and then you're going to you've come through the ring, you're going to come through the bicone and the 11/0 on this side, and the same thing on the other side. Bicone, 11/0, like that. So you see I've got my threads, both threads through, and then I'm going to pull, and I'm going to make sure that that ring is right in between the bicones. I'm exiting the 11/0, and then you're just going to sew through these 3 11/0s on this side, like that, and these 3 11/0s on this side, like that. And when I pull, you want to make sure that, when you tie your knots, you're going to do knots around again. You want to make sure that that ring is staying right there. You don't want the ring on thread. You want it between beads. You can use the pearls here too, whichever you like, or the round beads. Okay, so get that done, come back. And you could just go ahead and do the other side, because the other side, is exactly the same. So, you're just going to go through the ring just like that. So get those done, come back, and we'll finish up. Okay, we're back and we're done, and I love it. It came out so good. It's better than I expected. I never know if my vision is going to look as gorgeous completed, and I've only done this one. Sometimes I'll make 4 or 5 pieces so that I know it's, I know my vision has come to fruition. But this one, I just made this one piece. So here's the front, here's the back. I love this clasp. I'm going to show you how to clasp it, because I don't use these clasps very often. So here we're just going to come around here, and you see it's got this hook on it. So you just want to take the hook, and you want to just slide it in like so, and then you just give it a push, and it clicks right into place. That is so secure, that clasp. That's not coming apart. I love that. Wouldn't it be cool to have connecting units like this that we can put in between our beading? I think that's so, so pretty. And then when you want to take it off, I'm going to have to just sort of bend my way around. You're just going to squeeze those 2 ends that we put in like that. See, and it just releases it, and then you're just going to pull it off like that. And it's just, I love it. Absolutely, adore the clasp. I think It's so, so pretty. I think the whole piece came out great. All right, so I want to thank you so much for being here. I hope you make this and post it on Facebook. Make it in all different colors. I mean, they're just so, so pretty. Such beautiful beads. All right, so take care, and I'll see you next time.